Hi, I'm Chris Hadnagy, and I was just on the Smarter Online Safety podcast with Jocelyn King, and we had a great discussion all about these IRS scams that are going on and what you can do to stay safe if you get one of those calls so you don't have to fall victim to the scammers out there. Go take a listen because it's really going to help you out. Stay safe.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Smarter Online Safety Podcast. I'm your host, Jocelyn King, and I am so glad we have our guest on today for this hot topic. We are welcoming back, by popular demand, Chris Hadnagy, who is the founder of socialengineer.com. He is the original social engineering expert. In fact, he founded his company because so many top Fortune companies were coming after him, asking him to help them with training their employees and their call centers on how to detect social engineering that was so rampant and widespread. So he is the definitive expert and is seen so by cybersecurity experts themselves. So welcome back, Chris.
Thank you for having me back.
It's so great to see you again.
Yeah, it was great to be with you.
This is such a great topic. We've had so many people emailing us and contacting us. Everybody's getting calls from supposedly people helping with this IRS relief program and things like that. I'm going to play one of these examples so that everybody can hear what we're talking about. And I'm sure if you haven't received one of these, you are in a minority because everybody's
Yeah,
getting
you are in
them.
the minority.
And as you're listening to it, Chris, you can kind of see from the social engineering side to help people see what are the red flags. So here we go.
The new administration to help families and business owners reduce or even eliminate their tax debt. Press 1 now to speak with a tax resolution officer, learn more about the program, and begin enrollment so you can get back on your feet and be tax-free again. This could save you thousands. Or call us back at 279-242-5425. If you no longer wish to proceed with this offer, please note that our agents cannot process opt-out requests. You must press 9 to be removed.
Okay, so they're getting you to call them one way or the other, whether you want to be part of the program or don't want to be part of the program.
Yeah.
So Chris, enlighten all of us on what just happened.
Well, so I mean, anytime there's an administration change, right, and the economy is suffering right now, so people are financially worried. Prices of everything have gone up. So you have a lot of people that are worried about the future. So it's a perfect time for attackers to now use that fear. So fear is one of the biggest motivators we have to take action that we shouldn't take.
The
And
number one
sad,
tool, right? It's the number one
yeah,
tool
oh,
to
number one
hackers because
tool.
they're
But yeah,
preying on our weakest link, right?
yes. And they know that, right? So using the state that we're in right now, the financial concerns that everyone has, and now saying, "Oh, we have a program that if you think about it, we go back 2 years, this scam was, hey, you have so much tax debt, you better pay it today or we're going to send the cops to you."
Right.
Now they're offering you a program that can get you tax free. Wow. I mean, look, as a businessman, I would love to be tax free, you know? So that sounds so attractive in a time where the economy is thinking I'm having trouble staying afloat. And now you're telling me, oh, the government's got a new program? Maybe I heard something about that on the news. I don't know. Now it sounds like legitimate. Oh, I'll press one. Right. And
You
it,
brought up a key point. People are listening to the news, whether it's on their YouTube highlights or social media or an actual news program or reading it on their Yahoo Finance. So they know there are legitimate programs.
yeah,
And that's the other part too, right? The hackers are always, it's kind of like they say all jokes have some basis in truth. Well, all hacks have some basis in
they
truth.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the reason they use that is because it makes it harder for us to pick it out. Imagine
Mm.
if the call was, hey, the IRS wants to give you $1 million check. Well, people are like, what? Come on. Like, that's ridiculous. If nobody, no, like that, you would easily turn that down. But there are new programs with the new administration, and there has been a lot of news talking about reducing debt and doing all these things. So there is a very likelihood that someone listening to that can be like, I believe it. I want to
I
actually,
just saw the president sign something into law.
yeah,
They've seen the
yeah.
pictures and whatever. So they prey on the suspended disbelief of probability that this is truthful, right?
And the fear that we're all going through really hard times. So you put those two things together. I have fear. Now you just gave me hope. Boom,
Mm,
perfect attack, right? It really
yeah,
is.
yeah. Fear plus hope.
Yeah.
Okay. That's great. This is why social engineering and you being a social engineer, it's really the psychology of
It is.
cybercrime instead of the technology of cybercrime.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
And let's add the element to that that first of all, that was a very realistic phone recording with an American voice, right? If you go back 5 years,
Trustworthy sounding voice. I mean,
trustworthy sounding
that
voice,
person.
right?
Mhm.
I mean, if you go back 5 years, every time we got one of those calls, it was somebody from India or Pakistan. The accent has now trained us. Oh, wait, I don't know if I can trust that, right? And I know that's terrible to say, but that's what's happened with the hacking world. Well, now they're using American voices, so it sounds legitimate. The voice,
Mhm.
like you said, is trustworthy. She sounds like the like your GPS or something else that you'd like. I like this voice, you
It's
know?
even a woman's voice, and we tend
Yeah,
to think that women are less likely. However, fun fact, 1/3 of hackers are women, according
yeah,
to cybersecurity experts. Even only 1 in 5 women are in cybersecurity, 1 in 3 women are in cybercrime. So there you
yeah.
go. So not
And
those hoodies always are not always cloaking men.
not no. And in the dark web, we actually found ads where threat actor groups, ransomware groups, were looking for women specifically. We
Hmm.
found a job ad which was for American women make $30,000 per account.
Wow.
And they're just and they'll give you the scripts, they'll tell you what to do and where to call.
Mhm.
And they know that getting women with no accents to come work for them is gold mine.
Right.
So, we have that realistic sounding call. You have the hope and the fear, and now it's a perfect mix, right?
Mhm.
And then when if you do press one, you go to what sounds like a call center. You can hear other people talking in the background. You can hear all the beeps and noises of an office. So everything in your mind is saying legit. And when
Right.
they answer the phone, they're going to go, "Oh, IRS debt relief program. How can I help you?"
Right.
And
Because
then
it is a dedicated line. There's dedicated lines.
dedicated line.
They're always going to introduce themselves correctly.
Yeah, yeah. So I tell people a couple things. First, one of the things they did in that call is they gave you the phone number. So before you call it or press one, just go to Google and type that phone number in. And if someone has got scammed, I guarantee you that number is going to be on some website saying this is a scam.
Right.
Now, if it's legit, that number will also come back to the IRS website.
Hmm.
And that's the first thing, right? It's going to come
Right.
back and say, "Oh, that's a legit IRS number." Okay.
But that's going
Second,
to be 0.001%.
oh yeah.
So 99.99% of the time you're getting a call like this, it is supposedly
Let's
from the IRS.
let's
It is
say
not the
a
IRS.
hundred. Let's say a
Okay.
hundred because in I don't know how many years you've been paying taxes,
Hmm.
but in all my years of paying taxes, I've
Hmm.
never once got a phone call from the IRS.
Right. The one
Right?
exception that I heard from speaking to an IRS agent is that if they've sent multiple letters and stuff, there are times when they will do an outbound call. But
Yeah.
here's the thing, you have to be so many years behind and have gotten and have had so many letters sent out, and there is an escalation path. So there's a
Yes.
0.00001% chance that you actually are getting a call from the IRS. But suffice it to say, it's your same odds as winning the lottery. Okay.
Because think of that, and when they escalate, it becomes a certified letter.
Right. And you
Right?
already know you're in trouble with the
That's it. You'll
IRS.
already know. So there is no likelihood you're sitting here one day just working on your computer and all of a sudden you get a call and it's the actual legit. First of all, they don't have enough employees to
Right.
go around calling Americans who are in debt. They're not
True.
going to be able to do that, right? And and the chance of them calling you because you're in debt and saying we have a relief program,
Hmm.
that's going to come in mail.
Right.
So if you can just remember that part, that should already say nope. And let's say you really believe it. Well, then
Hmm.
here's what I would do. You go to irs.gov, you find their phone number, you call in legit number and say, "Hey, I just got a call about a debt relief program. Is that real?"
Right.
And they'll tell you no. Right? So there's steps that can be taken even with the hope and fear that can keep you safe.
Right. And one thing too, the IRS number, it's 1-800-829, which is tax.
Ah,
1040, which is the
yeah.
1040 form. So everybody can put that in their phone.
Yeah.
800-829-1040. And that's the only time you want to call a number for the IRS. Now, one thing too, a lot of these calls do is they don't say they're from the IRS. They say they're from a debt relief. It's kind of like when you're not calling your credit card company, you're calling somebody who's going to be an advocate for you and helping
Yeah.
solve your credit relief. And they're saying they're a credit relief program or a debt repairment program, kind of like going after a personal injury lawyer, in a car accident or something. So same thing for those, or how, people who were thinking, oh, I do want to look into what I believe is a legitimate taxpayer break,
Yep.
what, and the IRS, and thinking, well, the IRS is after my money, so somebody else is going to help me navigate or work the system of the IRS to improve my
Yeah.
financial situation. Same advice, but slightly different flavor of it. What would you tell people to do in that case when they're not going to the IRS.gov?
Yeah. So again, it's I would give them the same advice I give people who say I want to donate to this charity.
Mhm.
Okay. So you like the cause. Let's say you really want this debt relief program.
Mhm.
Go online and find the legitimate source. Don't
Mhm.
just trust what comes in your email. And now this very same scam that you played the call for, they're using social media to get that into people, right?
Right.
Because you're now sitting on your Instagram and anyone can buy ad space on Meta, right? So you're sitting on your Instagram and an ad comes up for the same debt relief program you just got a call on. And,
Right.
click here for more information. And you go to a legit looking website. And now they're saying call this number or enter your information here. So they're
Mhm.
getting you both by your social media, by clicking, by phone call. I guarantee you they're going to start getting SMS messages about the debt relief program. Just click this link and call in this number. It's going to
Right.
come in every avenue possible.
Yeah, and also being careful because like .gov helps you know it's legitimate, but there are
Yes.
these versions of irs-gov.org
Yeah.
that are trying, and things like that. Unfortunately, those things get taken down, but they don't get taken down until hundreds of thousands of people have already been on them, or
And
thousands of people have been on them, and you don't want to be one of them. So, where you're downloading malware or something onto your system, or giving them your
yeah.
full social security and credit card information or bank
Yeah.
account information and stuff.
But that's a really legit point because you actually can't buy a .gov if you're not a government agency. So
Correct.
anyone can buy an org, a com, a co. You can buy almost any domain that you want in the world, but you cannot buy a .gov unless you are a government agency. And same
Right.
as edu. You can't buy an edu unless you're an educational facility.
Right.
So it's
And those are highly regulated, and
yes.
ICANN and all these places that allow domains to be
Yep.
given out will not give them out except to us. So we do have that layer of protection. If you're
Yeah.
going to a legitimate .gov but do not go to a something gov.org because
Right.
that's, and that's important because a lot of people don't know that difference. So that's a
Yeah.
good distinction.
Now that makes it harder when it's phone, right? Because we're not seeing the domain. And like that call you just played, it's just so realistic.
Right.
It really is. It's
Now they're
so
also
legit
telling
sounding.
you to press 9. And of course, even if you go to the IRS website and they're looking at what to do with these calls, they say do not press any numbers and just
Yeah.
hang up.
Yeah.
Tell people what happened, why they need to just hang up, and because they're thinking, oh well, I'll still be suspicious, but just going to click that 9 to see what
Yeah.
happens. What could happen to them?
So here's the thing, and this I always hear people say, maybe I know it's a scam, so I'm just going to press 1 and mess with them, or I'm going to press 9 and mess with them. Here's the first thing that you do when you interact with that at all. You let the attackers know there's a real person at this number. So
Right.
that's a big no-no right there. First one, right? Because you're telling the attackers, hey, I'm here and I'll answer the call,
Right, because
right?
they're not actually calling you on your phone number. They're just
They're
robo-dialing.
ma they're
They're
mass calling, but
robo-dialing. They don't know if it's a legitimate number or not unless you
right.
tell them you are a
Yeah,
legit.
and then when you do, now you go on a special list where now they have somebody they can attack all the time. The
Mhm.
second is if let's say you really believed it and you want to opt out. To opt out, they're going to ask you for information like your full name, your address, your email address, your phone number. They're going to confirm that. So now you just told them all the things that they need, and now they're going to opt you out. But you're going to get attacks from the other parts of their threat actor groups. So anytime
with
you
with
interact with
different
them,
with different content.
oh
They're
yeah, sure. I
using
mean, these
different
guys aren't just calling IRS things. They have the grandma scam, the kidnapping scam. They're doing a wide range. We found evidence in the country of Georgia. Some of these places have literal call centers with hundreds of people in it, and different sections running different scams.
Mhm.
So this is not like a one-off. This is not like 3 or 4 people sitting in a basement somewhere. Like
Right.
this is they're legit going after these people. So if you
These
interact
are
with them,
full-on businesses that make a very high profit, and people get spiffs. It's kind of like, Wolf of Wall Street, The Beekeeper. If you've seen the movies, there's truth to all. There's some truth woven into all of that stuff. But there are armies of people doing this.
yeah. Oh yeah. And they don't care about if you're rich or poor. They don't care because they'll just take your money. Right?
Right.
So to them they don't have any empathy, so it doesn't matter if you're grandma and this is your last $5,000 in the bank and you're dealing with, health problems, that they don't care about that. They'll
Well,
take
I've
it.
actually seen some interviews with them with law enforcement, and they actually think these people are so gullible and stupid that they kind of deserve to lose
Yeah.
it. I mean, like,
Yeah.
so they're actually looking down, they're making themselves superior and
Yeah.
looking down on people. And to your point, instead of having empathy, they have disdain for
Yeah.
people who are stupid enough to talk to them,
And how can you possibly do that unless you do lack empathy, right? Because I mean, like, no matter how down and out I was, I
Mhm.
couldn't legitimately call somebody and steal their money in some kind of ruse
But you can't live with
just to help
yourself.
myself. I
You
couldn't.
can't look in the
I
mirror
couldn't.
and stuff.
I
But
couldn't.
plenty
I
of
would
people
feel,
can.
yeah, and that's it. So if you have that lack of empathy, then that job becomes easier. If you have empathy, I mean, I also we found some evidence of some of these scams being run in prisons in foreign countries,
Yes.
where
Yes.
the jailers or even the government that controls the jail tells the prisoners this is what you're going to do to relieve your sentence.
That's
So
their
they
idea
set
of a
up,
work program.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about it.
And then they're trained when they come out, if they get when they get out, to then go work in this as a full-time job for the rest of
Yeah.
their life. Now,
And you
question
think
for
about the
you.
money that's made, it's unbelievable,
Well, that's true. It's
right?
billions and billions and
Billions, billions of dollars.
dollars. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, one question for you too. There are like a lot of the people who listen to us are working professionals in top companies. They have high net worth, and they might think, okay, I'm just going to let every number that I don't know roll into my voicemail. And then you get voicemails like this. But there's a lot of people who are entrepreneurs or who are have some kind of, or salespeople at these companies. They have to take incoming calls because they could have a potential client or customer on the other
Hmm.
line, or a legitimate business call coming in, and they can't just say only contacts
Right. Yep.
in my
Yep.
contact list. So they're unfortunately, going to have a live voice come on. What advice do you have for people in that situation?
Yeah, so there are certain jobs where you have to answer the phone, right?
Mhm,
So those people don't have an option.
mhm,
Then I still say all the tips that we already gave,
mhm.
right? I mean, so yeah,
Okay.
you're answering the phone because you might want clients, right?
Mhm,
But now you get on that call and it sounds too good to be true.
mhm.
They're asking you for information that they shouldn't be asking you for, and they're using that fear hope combination. Okay, no, this emotion means that I'm probably getting scammed, so I'm gonna hang up on this call.
Right. Okay. So just hang up as soon as you know that it's not
Yeah.
a potential client calling in and it's any kind of a robo selling kind of thing or a live person trying to sell you something you don't want. So just hang up.
Yeah. I mean, nowadays, I don't know about you. I can't remember the last time I received a legitimate sales call,
Mhm,
right, on the phone. Like I haven't got a sales call on the phone and I can't tell you when.
mhm,
So, right, sales comes through LinkedIn or email, right? That's
mhm.
how it comes in. I don't remember ever picking up the phone and being like, "Hey, you want to buy a vacuum or something?" Like it doesn't happen
That's
anymore,
true. For all of
right?
us on LinkedIn, we are now bombarded by in-mails,
Yes.
whereas before we used to be more bombarded by phone calls.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'll get a flyer in the mail or I'll get a postcard, something like that with sales stuff. But I'll even get some people coming knocking door to door for roofing or tree cutting or something like
Yes.
that. But I don't get phone calls, just
Mhm,
random phone calls. And I think people know that because, I mean, think about your business, my business. If I just said to my team, okay, I want you to just start calling CISOs, who's going
mhm.
to answer the phone
Right.
nowadays? Right? Because we all do that. We all look at our phone and
People
go,
listening, that's a chief information security
yes.
officer in the company. So, yeah. Mhm.
They're not going to look at their phone and go, I don't know that number. I'm going to
Right.
answer it. These people are busy as heck. They got a million things going on,
Right.
right?
Right.
So we can also think that way if
So,
you're
so
an
you should be
entrepreneur.
suspicious of phone in general in a way that people over the age of 30 have not been trained to think.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, like my generation, everything was done on the phone. I
Right.
remember my first sales job. It literally was sitting on the phone making calls
Mhm.
because that is the way you got in touch with people. We didn't have email and all this other stuff. You either did direct mailers or you were making phone calls.
Right.
This generation now, they
So your
text
brain,
message.
just so your brain and minds are conditioned to think that phone is mostly safe and
Yeah.
maybe not, even though the reality is it's probably far switched and the
And
most
if you
are
think
not
about
safe. Mhm.
if you think about phone technology too, so it hasn't changed since like Bell invented it, right? I mean, it's just a line that connects two people, and whatever now with the internet, whatever the sender wants to
Mhm.
put on that trunk, you get to see. So
Right.
spoofing a caller ID, no problem. Spoofing somebody no problem. It can be done. It's cheap. It's almost nearly free. Phone calls cost nothing. You can
Oh,
get VoIP lines to pennies, right? To make hundreds of calls.
well, I know people who call in, they have this service for $5 a month where they can go in and from their phone say that they're whomever,
Yeah.
AAA or whatever. And
Yep.
because you get to type in a text field who you are. So you could put IRS
You could. You could.
and and it'll come through and they for $5 a month they can get that service.
Yeah.
So you can't even trust the caller ID and
And
stuff.
that's what I
And
say
the
is,
other thing is you also want to take advantage of your cell carrier and others all have programs. There's some basic settings if you call and ask them or dial your
Mhm.
611 you can look at how to get some basic settings turned on for suspicious and known bad emails so that those will get blocked. And then others have for a certain dollar amount per month, they'll block at a higher level of security,
yeah.
suspicious numbers
And
and
most phones have that built in now.
correct.
So like the newer iPhones and Android phones, if you go to the call, the phone and you go to settings in that, in
Mhm.
there, there's usually spam and call blocking
Blockers, yeah.
settings. So a lot of times when these numbers, like the one that you got called, if that gets reported, it goes on what's called a spam list. So
Mhm.
now that number is known to all these carriers as being something that is malicious. So
Right.
if I have that setting on my phone, if that number tries to call me, my phone will actually black hole that, not even send it to voicemail. It just hangs up on it.
And that's probably because somebody who got it said block and report,
Yeah.
and it goes onto a list, and
Yep.
then you're getting protected down the road.
Yep. So that's why I said like don't interact with it, but report it.
Yep.
Report it to your carrier because that's how I mean, now I'll tell you, getting a new phone number, it costs them nothing. So if they realize that that number is going to get blocked, they're just going to switch it to a new one.
Right.
But at least you're helping anyone else for that day or that week that that number is active. You're
Right.
helping anyone else that if they have those settings set, that they're not going to get through to that person.
Right. No, that's awesome. And that's true for the text and the phone numbers. And then also
Yes.
for anybody who's getting an email that is suspicious, you can forward that to phishing, phishing at irs.gov. They like to get those. And then they put those emails on their known suspicious,
Yeah.
known bad email list as well. So that's
And
awesome.
if you're working
See?
for a company, report those phishing emails to
Mhm.
your IT team. And if you're not, if you're just like single person entrepreneur or something like that, if you're using Outlook, usually there's settings where you can block those domains where oh, this is a phish and you can block that. So anytime they send you something again, that goes right into the junk. So there's a
Right.
lot of things that can be done to protect yourself, but it all starts with that first thing we talked about, which is critical thinking. I mean, you
Right.
got to be able to calm down, hear what's being said, read what's being said, and calmly think through that this is probably a scam and here's what I should do.
Right. No, that's perfect. And then here's, one of the things that I collected a little bit. There are some legitimate IRS programs
Yeah.
that are based in the truth that other people. So just to talk about this is innocent spouse relief. So these are real programs for people whose spouse made tax mistakes. That does exist with the IRS. Again, you
Hmm.
want to go to irs.gov. It is never promoted by phone calls. So if you're getting a phone call about that, and they know how to target people who have debt problems, they will target their spouse. And
Yeah.
as you and I know, it doesn't cost them anything to find that out through social
No.
media and everything. There's an offer in compromise, OIC, that lets some people settle tax debt for less than owed. Scammers love to misuse that one, saying you qualify or this, or here, click
Yeah.
here to apply, and you have to give them your whole social security number to apply. So again, you do this through the irs.gov. Employee retention credit. This was that legal tax credit
Yes. Yeah.
from COVID, and that's still going on. Again, IRS.com, and IRS has since cracked down on those cases. The last one is a taxpayer advocate service, which is kind of what we were talking about. These are free, independent IRS help services. This is not something you'd be called about unsolicited. So bottom line is it is just assume 100% of these are scams.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, oh my gosh, this is a hot topic. And thank you, Chris. You've helped so many people. We've had
Thank you.
dozens and dozens of inquiries about this because this is the peak right now. And I
Yeah.
think you said it so well at the beginning. This is one of the key takeaways is that it's the same playbook, but the content changes.
Yeah.
The same playbook as COVID tax relief as save on taxes in a
Yep.
boom time to in a time of concern. It's like here's debt relief or something. So the content changes. It's a campaign change.
Yeah.
But the playbook stays the same. And that's getting you to call a number that they've texted you, or click a number, or click on an email that they have sent you in some form. Just don't do it. It can ruin your day, your year, your life.
Your life. Yeah.
And so many people that Chris and I have met and tried to help and have helped have been taken in, and it is a hard road out. I dug myself out of a hole like that myself, and I don't wish it on anybody. So, don't click. So there you go. So these IRS scams are full court press. There's millions of these calls and texts going out every day. So if you've received one, you're just a number, and just, block and delete. So that is so, thank you so much, Chris,
You're welcome.
there was a lot of consternation about this, and I don't know all the social engineering stuff that you know. And so it's so great to have you enlighten me and all of our listeners and help us be smarter and safer online. Thank you so much.
Anytime.
Now, for people who want to know more about you, now you work with companies that are getting all these inbound calls and helping train their employees, particularly those who answer the phone or have to deal with these things, of how to spot things and how to protect the company. So for people who want to learn more about your services, where should they go?
The best place is social-engineer.com.
All right, that's perfect. That is great. And you're on LinkedIn, and you can connect with people on LinkedIn.
Very active there. And I'll stay active with you as long as you don't try to sell me something in the first 30 seconds of connecting.
That's right. If you've got an auto sell, you're going to be blocked and deleted.
You're going to be blocked. That's it. Yeah.
That is great. Well, these were great tips. Thank you. And I'm sure the people listening are so grateful for your sharing your knowledge. Thank you, everybody. And tune in for our next episode. And until next time, please stay safe out there. And if this was helpful to you, please like and share with those who need to hear it. And if you could like our channel and subscribe, that helps us grow and help reach more people so that we can help more people stay safer and smarter online. Thank you so much. Until next time, stay safe out there.